Good afternoon and welcome to Gulfstream Today from beautiful Gulfstream Park. I'm Acacia Courtney, joined today by Pete Aiello, our track announcer, doing double duty today while Ron Nicoletti is in Maryland for the Preakness. Pete, welcome.
Glad to be here. We've officially changed the name of the Gulfstream Today program. From now until Sunday morning, this is now known as Beauty and the Beast.
I would just like to throw out that I'm the only person that didn't know that that's what we were changing the name to. But
absolutely. Have to have natural reactions on TV.
Natural reactions on TV, but very happy to have Pete here. We're going to have a lot of fun, I think.
I think so, too. We have 9 races to get to this afternoon. Carryover in the Rainbow Six. We're off the grass on 2 of our races this afternoon. But that just adds to the level of difficulty, so that's good news, is my opinion.
Absolutely. The track is labeled as muddy right now, and the turf is labeled as good. As you mentioned, a couple of races off. Those are races 1 and 3 as of right now. Race 2 and the remainder of the card are still on the turf, but we'll, of course, be updating you throughout the day on all of those changes with the weather conditions. But it's Preakness week. A lot of people are over in Maryland, but we're holding down the fort here and still have plenty of good racing to bring you from Gulfstream Park. So with that, let's take a quick look at the kind of wagering that we will get you today. We start in race number 1 with the early pick 5, 50-cent pick 5. I'll have a ticket for you there. Race number 2 starts the rolling super high 5, the $1 rolling super high 5. That's for any race with 7 or more horses. So that'll start in the second race today. Race number 4 starts the rainbow pick 6. There is a carryover, nice big carryover there of $35,000, $889. And I'll have a rainbow pick 6 ticket there, races 4 through 9. And then finally the late pick 5, when Pete will chime in with his ticket for a 50-cent late pick 5. So lots of good stuff coming your way. Yeah,
no singles in the late pick 5. I know if anyone watches this program when I'm on it on a regular basis, that may surprise you. Could not come up with any singles here this afternoon.
All right, well, it should be lots of fun, so let's dive right into it. We'll start with the first race. It is a 1 1/16 taken off the turf once again. Remember that some of these turf races taken off might result in some scratches, so scratch out the 5, 7, and 8 in the first race. That's 5, Lake of the Isles, the 7, Hava Nagila, and the 8, These Truths. Off the turf, it's a maiden claiming. The purse is $25,000 for the fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Who did you go with here, Pete?
Well, we have the first finish line in use in this race, so the configuration of the track will lend itself to horses who will be forwardly placed. So that means the 2, Niagara Star, probably gets the right setup with the scratch of the 7. However, I'm going to stick with my picks on the turf, and I'm going to move them right to the dirt here this afternoon. I went with the number 3, Like a Girl, on top. She seems to be improving marginally. She's bred to like the gooey going, being a Wild Rush mare on Cat Thief on the top side. I think that the moisture in the track will help her. I also think that the surface switch may help her because she's not shown that she has any turn of foot in her races. That tends to lend itself better to the dirt track than it does the turf course.
Sure, and I ended up using the 3 as well, and I almost forgot we have that early pick 5 here in the first races. So let's give you a quick look at my ticket before I explain why I went with my top selection. So it's a nice $36 ticket there. I did go 4 deep in this race. Surface switch, felt had to add a couple. I do have that 3 horse and the 1, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. 2 deep in the next race and then 3 deep. I was able to find a single in race number 5, but we'll get to that a bit later. Again, $36 ticket there. Now back going over to this race number 1, I stayed with the number 4, Run Alex Run, who's coming off, just ran 8 days ago, so pretty quick turnaround, but ran very solidly. A 3rd place finish last time out, finished just 3/4 of a length behind a leader. That was on the turf. 2 back did have a race taken off the turf, and 3 back at Keeneland ran a dirt race and finished 3rd there. It was a very distant 3rd, but does have the ability to run on the dirt as well. And then I also used the 3, Like a Girl, who I think the surface strain will not be a big deal for him at all there, for her, excuse me. And then the 2, Niagara Star, who you mentioned, Pete. I think that this horse, with the scratch of the 7, Hava Nagila, will probably be the speed.
Yeah, I think so too. It'd just be interesting to see how she handles the main track. Nobody in this race has any sort of proven resume on the main track. Run Alex Run has some races where she's hit the board on the main track, but I hardly think that constitutes a resume, at least with the horse that's currently the 8-5 favorite. You can see in my form, you can see right here, I said no with a big X. I'm going to stick to that. If the favorite wins the opener, I'm off to a bad start.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens there. Let's go over to race number 2. This one is still on the turf. It's 7.5 furlongs, a claiming race. The purse is $18,000 for 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 3 races or have not won a race on the turf in the past 6 months. That's since November 19th, or 3-year-olds. And we've got no scratches so far in this race number 2. So, as again, staying on the turf, and we are not too much in agreement in this race.
Yeah,
here,
I feel
so.
like I'm working with Ron again. We're not in the same zip code right now in these picks, but I figured that would be the case with a lot of the handicappers in this race, because I'm going with a horse that's going to be a big number. My long shot play of the day, number 2, Simferopol. Had a bad trip last time. It's not denoted in the program, but it was not a wise move. Had to circle all the way on the outside, was 5 or 6 deep coming off the corner, and then Cruz elected to try to go back inside, and all that happened there was the hole closed on him, and he couldn't quicken through there. Ended up getting 5th in the late stages. So with a better trip, rider change here to Juan Leyva. The course will suit this horse. I liked him last time for the same reason. He likes a little give in the ground. There is definitely some of that today. He'll be a big price, and he'll be overlooked. Simferopol for me here.
All right, well, Pete is going with a big price. I ended up going to one who is first off the claim 4-1 on the morning line, and that's the number 7, Modern Tale, who's moving over into the barn of Peter Walder. Quick stat for you there with trainer Peter Walder in the past 5 years. First off the claim, adding blinkers. This horse is going to get blinkers for the first time in a while. He has a pretty limited sample there, but 5 for 11, so 45% win. 8 for 11, 73% of the time in the money with a 309 ROI. And I thought that was huge, especially considering how often you see Peter Walder's horses getting bet. So I really liked this horse, especially with the addition of the blinkers. Does have a couple of races on a track that has some moisture in it. So I don't think that the grass, if there is a little bit of moisture in it today, will be a big deal for this horse. Again, this one stays on the turf, had 2 seconds and a win in the past 3 races, and now first off the claim. So that's going to be my top selection.
Can't argue with your top selection at all. It wasn't a situation where I had anything bad to say about Modern Tale, or for that matter, the one horse East Rock. I just found some other contenders I thought would be better prices, including number 4, a Break, who comes in for trainer Ramon Moya. This horse appears to me to be on the upswing in the form cycle, and that's always something that I like to look at, especially when the price is going to be right. Ran 4th last time out behind upset winner Thinking Quality, but the race 2 back behind the winner Very Very Stella. Very Very Stella came back to win again for trainer Ralph Zadie and did so impressively. So again, this horse I think will be better suited to the course, although if you look at his races, it's kind of tough to tell. He has 3 races on a good turf course. 2 of them are really bad, but one of them was pretty good.
And same thing that you said. I can't really argue too much with that one. That was one that I did look at, and I landed on the one East Rock as my second. The last time he ran the 7.5 furlongs was back in October, and that was a very impressive, nearly 3-length victory. And then we both used the 5 Soul Man. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Soul Man, to me, just you can't poke any holes in him. He made his debut for trainer Oscar Gonzalez last time out. He stalked the pace setters and drew away to win convincingly at 2-1. If there is one hole to poke, and the reason why he's not on top of my ticket, Jaramillo decides to ride the one East Rock, so he loses his winning pilot, but he gets Leonel Reyes in the irons this afternoon. Soul Man, to me, just looks like he's going to continue to be in good form.
Something I noticed as well, a little bit of musical jockeys in this race. So let's move on to race number 3. This one is off the turf as well. Like the first race, it's 5 furlongs. Now we'll be on the main track. It's a claiming race, purse is $16,000. It's for the fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 3 races, or 3-year-olds. And we have a couple of the same horses on there. I ended up using the 5 Sultry Town Cat in the top position here. You used this horse second, but I know you're really high on the 7 Bluegrass Lady.
Yeah, Bluegrass Lady, my best bet of the program. I love her with this race coming off the grass. I was going to take a shot with her on the turf anyway, but now that we're off the grass, we have an outside gate. We have Marcial Navarro off the claim, who just scored with Jaden's Best yesterday at a chilly 4-1. And we have Eddie Castro taking over for 10-pound apprentice Nelson Guerrero. An outside gate with speed, the fastest horse in here anyway. Add the fact that you're going to a high percentage connection off the claim. Sign me up.
All right, well, I can't argue with you on that. Again, I used this horse in second, but I landed on the 5 Sultry Town Cat as my top pick. This horse tried the turf for the first time last time out, so if this race had stayed on the turf, I probably wouldn't have used this horse, excuse me. She was beaten by 10 3/4 lengths in her first turf start in a while, but if you look 2 and 3 races back. Those were both on the dirt over at Tampa. 2 very nice victories over there. Sammy Camacho been riding her over at Tampa. He's going to stay aboard now that she's come over to Gulfstream Park. I like that consistency, and just really looking at those 2 wins in the row, she has the ability to show some early speed and the ability to sit just behind the pace as well. So she's got some versatility that I liked.
Yeah, she certainly does. And as Ronnie always says, I'm kind of the Tampa aficionado, or as I like to say, the savant of Tampa. Sultry Town Cat, if this race was at 6 furlongs, she's on top of my ticket. I don't like her at 5/8 because she does have tactical speed, but she's tricky in the regard is that she doesn't have any turn of foot and she doesn't have an explosive turn of speed. So I think Bluegrass Lady clears her and they lead her on a merry chase.
All right, and you rounded it out with the 3.
Yeah, just best of the rest scenario there in a moment's notice. Has some races at Tampa that aren't bad. In fact, that race 2 back would put her right in the mix here.
And same reason that I went with Annabella Hall coming over from Tampa as well. Had a win on the turf last time out, but a couple races back. A win actually on a sloppy track over at Tampa. So again, moisture in the ground shouldn't bother her. And just a quick mention here, Pete will come back over with all the changes as well. But this 3rd race off the turf, scratch the number 2 Pelagia and the number 6 Princess Zenyi. And we will again keep you updated of all those changes throughout the day. Moving on to the 4th race. This one is on the turf. I know it's a little bit of back and forth, off on, but this one is 7.5 on the turf.
Just to explain to the fans what exactly is going on, our turf course is wide enough now where we have what, in essence, even though we don't call it that officially, an inner turf and an outer turf. The outer turf races are on, the inner turf races are off. That's the reason for the change.
All right, and with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have the Rainbow Pick 6 for you. Welcome back. It's time for race number 4, and that means it's Rainbow 6 time. I'll show you my ticket quickly. I have a $43.20 ticket for the Rainbow Pick 6 today. It starts in race number 4. I was not able to find a single in the later half of today's card. Pete mentioned he wasn't able to find a single in his late pick 5 either, but I went 3 deep, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 2. So a little bit back and forth, but a very affordable ticket there. And if you find some other horses that you'd like to add on, certainly be easy to do that. But looking right now at race number 4, I used the horses 2, 4, and 5, but it's 7.5 furlongs on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 3 races or have not won a race on the turf since November 19th. It's the past 6 months, or 3-year-olds.
Well, we were just talking to our cameraman, Dennis, about the potential for pancake bets. We're going to, I think, now that I know who you picked on top, I might have to go right here, right now with a pancake bet. We already discussed off camera, Acacia does like pancakes, so this is a legitimate scenario.
I can't cook them, though.
Yeah, well, neither can I, so I always make a mess. But in any case, you're going with Storm and Charlotte. I'm going with the other speed, very few details. We can show you something from very few details as last race. I want you to see this because I want you to understand that there's absolutely no scenario where very few details was supposed to win that last race. It went 22 flat to the opening quarter, and this horse is winging up top. Very few details in that particular race. I don't know if that's her, but I guess maybe it is. She just, oh yeah, that is her. She just keeps opening up. Now watch this. Pop quiz time. How is a horse who's been off over a year supposed to run 2 turns on the grass at Gulfstream, go 44 to the half, 3/4 in 7 and 3? How is she supposed to win? It's a miracle she's even in front at this point. That's the 8th pole right there. Very few details is still there, but okay, she got tired. She'd only been off a year and went 3/4 in 7 and change. I mean, that's just a huge run off the layoff. Yeah, she backed up to be 4th, but I can tell you what, I don't know that there's many horses at this level that could go 3/4 in 7 and change and even last for the Super.
Well, I don't have an answer to your pop quiz, by the way. I don't have an answer for that one, even if it was multiple choice. Can totally understand that, and I use very few details on my ticket as well, but I put her in 2nd. Just still coming off of that layoff. She had a very funky trip last time out, as we've seen by that video, and a very big effort there. A funky trip, a funky trip for sure. And she's coming off that layoff, and even after that race, I think that she'll still run big and run in the money. But I did land on the number 2, Stormin' Charlotte, who had a sloppy track taken off of the turf last time, and that was a no-go. She was beaten by more than 31 lengths, so she was not too happy about that at all. She's back to her preferred surface, the turf. This one stayed on the turf. She had 2 very nice victories prior to that, and as you mentioned, that this is the speed. She does also have a victory on a track labeled good. So you went with one speed, I went with the other speed, but we both used the 5 as well.
I was, see, what do you need me for? You're segueing for yourself, and that segues for me also. The 2, 3, and 4 are probably going to have a crash course for disaster here. My hope is that very few details can relax a little bit. I don't think she needs to knock the rust off her shoes like she did last time out. But if, in fact, they do get acquainted and do a little too much too soon, the 5, Valley Cruz, certainly stands to reap the benefits. She's the best horse in form coming from off the pace.
Absolutely, and that was the main reason that I used her, too. And I used those 3, and you rounded it out with the 1, Bodacious Barb.
Nothing to say other than best of the rest, looking for a horse to get a minor reward. I think the win contenders here are 4 and 5. I don't know, did we officially go pancakes, 2 against 4, or are we going to wait for later?
Let's go pancakes.
Okay,
All right.
pancakes. Maybe we can get double for nothing. That'll be pretty good.
Okay, we'll take that. All right, moving on to race number 5. It's 7.5 furlongs on the turf for the fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races, and it's time for your late pick 5 ticket.
Oh, yeah, it is. I haven't done one of those in a while. 7.5 furlongs to start the sequence. I'm going to go 3 deep to start it. 2 of the 3 horses are going to be price plays, and then me and Acacia's top play, the 7 Starship Sassy, also makes the ticket. I'll go 2 deep in the 6th race. The horse that I liked on top, Professor Jack, is out, so I think we can pare it down to Madruz and Starship Apache. 3 deep in the 7th. Yes, I know it's only a 5-horse field, but I'm trying to beat both favorites, so I want to use everybody else. 2 deep in the 8th race. I almost singled Showdown, but I did not want to get beat by Jaramillo ever, so I added the 2 Grand Venezuelan. And then 3 deep in the last. I like the last race, 4, 7, 9. I don't think there's anybody else that can win. So if we make it past leg 4, I'm feeling pretty good.
All right, well, we'll see how that turns out. And we have got a couple tickets on there for you. Pete's at $54, so he looks like he's got all of his bases covered. And we both used the same horse on top in this race, the number 7, Starship Sassy.
Yeah, she was the wise guy play last time out. Ronnie and I both liked her. She was resuming from an extended vacation. But I do believe we have a spotlight to show you on Starship Sassy. She had a little bit of trouble in her return try.
She did. I just want to show you the video here. This was the race from April 29th. She was coming off a little bit of that layoff. As you mentioned, she's the number 7. I wanted to show the head-on of the break because she was really bumped here and got shuffled back. You see, it's kind of like ping pong going back and forth at the start of the race. She ended up tailing the field at the start and just had a lot of work to make up. You see, she's even wide there. She's kind of kicking out.
She got knocked sideways there, too.
She did get knocked sideways there. She's kind of kicking out, trying to catch her feet underneath her as she's going around the turn. And she's lucky if it had been maybe some moisture in the track or a more inexperienced rider, she might have even slipped on that side there as they're going around the turn. So really troubled trip there coming back. She still rallied to finish 3rd and was beaten only by 2 lengths last time.
Absolutely, and that's why she's on top of our tickets. She should only get better from that last race, and she did have an alibi that makes her the one to beat in here. A horse that Acacia and I both use is the number 2, Cleverness. That's an apt name here because jockey Edgard Zayas is going to have to be clever to figure out where she belongs in this race. Traditionally, she's done her best work near the lead. However, there's some other horses in here like Golden Ride and Manhattan Moxie who will want to be part of the early pace. I don't think that's good for Cleverness, but she has an inside gate. I wouldn't mind her pocketing up 3rd or 4th down inside and taking a shot at around the far turn.
Yeah, I could certainly see that happen. This one was a $160,000 daughter of Street Sense, and she's been running at Tampa, but her last race at Gulfstream was her maiden victory. She won by 3 lengths, going 1 1/16 on the turf, so she's cutting back in distance a little bit to that 7.5 furlongs. And then I rounded it out with the 5. You mentioned that this one is one that will probably have some speed. She's moving over to the turf for the first time. She actually crossed the finish line 2nd last time, but was bumped up to finish 1st through disqualification, so she hasn't really had that sense of victory, yes, that taste of victory yet, if you will. And she does have some turf pedigree there, so I don't think that the move over to turf will be a problem.
I'll pass.
All right. Fair enough, fair enough. And you use the 3. Why?
Premier Dame, she has some races on the back form here at Gulfstream and at Gulfstream Park West on the grass that would make her a contender here. She also makes her stable debut for Michelle Nihe. That's good news and bad news all at the same time. She will definitely be better than she was last time. That's the good news. The bad news is that, at least for me, I like Michelle Nihe's horse's second start off the freshening. This is her first start off the freshening. But for me, the price is going to be too enticing. I'm going to have to use her in the late pick 5.
Yeah, that's where you'll get some good value there in that race. So moving on to the 6th race. This is 6 furlongs on the main track, and there is a scratch the number 5, Professor Jack, and we are in agreement with the top 3 horses this time, but just in a different order.
Yeah, the cream rises to the top a lot of times in these races, and with the scratch of the 5, Professor Jack, the 4 and 6 are throwouts. That leaves us a field of 4 contenders in this race. I think Acacia and I are both against So You Think You're a Romeo, so that's why we have the same 3 horses. Number 2, Madruz. I wanted to use this horse on top and didn't, but I'm going to back into him anyway with the scratch of the 5. Ran okay last time out. I don't think the quality of that particular field was great. That doesn't bode well for me, though, because I'm using the 2 horses that come out of that race, first and second. But I don't think the quality in this race, at least relative to the condition, this is a pretty soft non-2.
Yep, and I totally agree with you there. First off, the claim into the barn of Juan Arias moved over to the dirt, so is going to stick on the dirt this time. Was trained by Mike Maker prior to that, tried the turf, and that was certainly a no-go. So I think that the dirt is his preferred surface as well. And as you mentioned, some of the horses coming out of that race, he's also burned a bunch of money the last couple races. He went off as the beaten favorite and will probably take a bunch of money today as well. Starship Apache, the one who ran ahead of him in that most recent race, finished a very solid second, beaten just by a neck. That's who I ended up going with on top, but I totally agree. Kind of going back and forth in this race, trying to figure out where you're going to land.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that last race was tricky because Starship Apache had every opportunity to outrun Mayamo Sam, and he didn't. Same story for number 2, Madruz. The thing is about Madruz, and the reason why he takes money, and today will be no exception, he has about 7 races on your form. If he runs back to any of the 7 of them, he wins by 20.
Yeah.
But you just have to take it on faith that you're going to get that. The 7, Cunavice, is our other contender here outside Jaramillo and Mike Maker. This horse broke the maiden in a big way last time out. The second place horse, Burning Wild, got on the grass and won for Barry Rose the next time that Burning Wild stepped onto the racetrack. That bodes well for Cunavice. And an outside gate. Speed has got to be the weapon of choice here.
Yeah, added blinkers for the first time last time as well, and won by 7 lengths. Showed a lot more speed with the addition of blinkers. Probably got a lot more focus there. And coming out of the gate, Jaramillo was aboard that day, and he's going to stay aboard. And we both agree that this horse should probably be right up in the action. Moving on now to race number 7. This is 6 furlongs. A starter optional claiming. The purse is $30,000. This is for the fillies 3-year-olds, which have never started for a claiming price of $35,000 or less, and which have never won a race other than maiden or claiming or optional claiming price of $35,000. So pretty specific conditions there.
I love working with you. This is great. We're going to both try to beat Katira Rock. Katira Rock is your 8-5 favorite in a field of 5. We have to pick 3 horses in this race. The likelihood of us both excluding an 8-5 morning line favorite, that's got to be like 50-1 or something. Where, hey, Ronnie, are you watching this? Acacia and I are both beating the favorite in race number 7 today.
Hopefully it pays off in a big way. We both used the number 5, Did Not Mean It, who was your top selection.
Yeah, did not mean it coming out of a tricky race last time out. Dad's Kiddo rallied between horses under Josie Gomez to get the victory. For me, it's just strictly a tactical play. Outside gate in a 5-horse field with a horse who's done her best work stalking the pace. She's been too far back her last 2 times. It wasn't her fault 2 starts ago, though, because she was going 5/8 on the grass. She's just not fast enough to keep up with those kind of horses. Number 1, Katira Rock, though, we're going to give her some airtime, but we'll do it in just a second.
Right. Well, I want to talk about the number 2, Light Our Way, who I used as my top selection, moving over from the barn of Jorge Navarro into the barn of Milton Wolfson. A quick stat on Milton Wolfson in the past 5 years. First off the claim in the sprints like this race, 1 for 11, so only 9% win, but 64% in the money, 7 out of 11 times with a $2.34 ROI. So I'm not positive that this horse is going to win. Listening to Pete talk, I think that the 5 might have a better chance. And I stared at this race for a long time because I did want to try and beat the favorite, Katira Rock, for all the reasons that we're going to mention. But I think that this one is one that'll definitely, if not win, be right up there in the money and gets Tyler Gaffley on board.
Yeah, the last time that Light Our Way ran, she lost to Did Not Mean It. But I think pace-wise, she went 22 and 44 to the half in her debut and whistled Whistle Dixie, and then last time she went 22 and 45. She's in front here. I think that the move, if you're Eddie Castro, is I think the race unfolds the way Acacia's picks are. 2-5-4. That'll be the way it is down the backside. It's just a matter of whether Katira Rock, and she's the winner, can do any work from the back.
Absolutely. And you used the 3. She's the winner as well. You just mentioned that horse.
Yeah, she's the winner. I mean, she's going to be the longest price in this race, but there's some upside here, folks. She's making her second start off of an extended layoff. Dorinati Dorochenko off the layoff is probably, for me, like Steve Dwoskin first time out. It just doesn't happen. This horse had to need that last race. She has races that are good enough to be competitive. She's won over this course. She's beat allowance horses in the past. She did that at a chilly 68-1. And I just thought the longest price in the 5-horse field, why not? She doesn't look that much different than some of the other horses here.
Yeah, for sure. And this was a tough one to decide on. And then we both used the 4. It's high time. Emisel Jaramillo is going to climb aboard. This one is a stakes winner as well. Jose Pinchin, the trainer.
Let's talk about the only horse that we've yet to talk about. We'll give our time to all 5 of them in the Thursday feature race. Here's Katira Rock. Now, I'll give you the good news first. If you go back to her races in February at Gulfstream, she's running 3rd behind April Gaze, beaten 2 lengths. If she runs that race, she's posing in the winner's circle. That's the good news. The bad news is she's been on vacation in Puerto Rico since then. She ran in a grade 2 race off the plane. I guess there's no vans to Puerto Rico. Have to take a plane to get there. She was very, very bad in that particular race. Finished dead last, beaten 44 lengths. They put her back into reality in an allowance race. It was a $9,500 race, and she was at 1 turn instead of 2 turns. She ran second, but what do you do with that? She hasn't been seen since then, and the Puerto Rican form worries me. Now she's coming back to the States. A lot to ask of a horse.
Hopefully she got a nice tan in Puerto Rico. Okay, moving on to race number 8. It's 1 mile on the turf. There will be no scratches here in this race, and this one is for the maidens, 3-year-olds and up. It's a maiden claiming purse is $25,000. And we both had the number 1 horse, Showdown. I used the horse in second. You used him in first.
Yeah, Showdown makes his second start off the freshening for Mark Casse. Just looked like a horse to me that needed that last race. Tyler Gaffalione must agree because he sticks around for the return call. Has an inside gate. There is some speed in here. This horse should be doing some good work from off the pace. I actually think as long as he improves a little bit on the Beyer scale, he can run the race he ran last time tactically, sit and pounce. He didn't pounce very well last time, but there's more speed in here, and there's also given the ground. Those 2 things alone makes me like Showdown. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to single him in the early pick 4, but I also did not want to get beat by Jaramillo.
Totally understandable. And I ended up going and taking a little bit of a gamble in this race and going with the 5. She read my text, and show you a quick video of her most recent race. He's had 2 races so far in his career. Both of them have been second by just a neck. You see, she read my text is number 5 here in this race, coming around the turn, has showed some speed throughout, and then just got into a duel towards the end. Very game, and it looks like this horse hasn't really been able to catch a break just yet. He's been stuck in this duel or getting beaten by just a neck in both of his races so far, but he's been very, very game each time. In this one, you have the 1 horse coming on the outside, you have the other horse on the rail, and just grinding away, managed to finish and hold on for second, but just always kind of having that battle that he's going to have. Now, there is some other speed in this race, but I'm hoping that this one's able to keep a clear trip and finally get that victory.
Well, he's definitely the speed of the speed. There's no doubt about that. You're going to wing if you're taking She Reads My Text, because horse is stretching out from 5/8 around 2 turns. That's the reason why I didn't use him, because I don't know that he can get 2 turns. His form is certainly good enough for him to get that diploma, and if he can relax on the lead, he could play a major role here. I actually quite like this name, too, because his mother is Wendy's On To Me.
Nice and punny there. I like it.
Yes.
I like it. Very punny. And then you also used the 2 Grand Venezuelan.
Yeah, that's just the horse I mentioned that Jaramillo's riding. He'll get a good trip behind the embattled pace setters. If some of the other stretch out speed wants to go with She Reads My Text, that'll be where Grand Venezuelan stalks the pace setters and gets first run on Showdown.
I ended up using the 3 Geschnell, who finished second by a little bit, just above Grand Venezuelan. Last time out was beaten by just a neck, and I thought that this was a horse who could sit from behind the pace in the 7.5 last time out, rather, and do the mile on the turf today. So we're not too much in agreement except with Showdown there, and let's finish up with the 4 Forever Die.
Yeah, Forever Die, best of the rest selection. We'll be charging hard late. Jose Alvarez riding for veteran conditioner Rosemary Homeister Sr. This horse does have some races that would make him very competitive here.
All right, and our 9th race today, the last one on the card. It's 5.5 furlongs, a maiden claiming. Purse is $14,000. It's for the maidens, fillies, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. And we both used the horse number 70 out. I used him in her in first, and you used her in second. And we both agreed that the 4 Surprising Appeal should be an interesting one.
Yeah, here's your useless trivia for the day. Number 70 out is out of a mare named Home Alona. Would you like to take a guess at who owned Home Alona?
Well, Wesley Ward was the trainer of both parents.
It was indeed, but who was the part owner of Home Alona?
I do not know.
Joe Pesci from the great movie Home Alone, hence the reason for Home Alona. 0 out makes her debut here today. Why does she debut for $10,000? If you can answer that question with any amount of conviction, you'll know what to do in this race.
All right. Well, I ended up using her on top, taking a little bit of a gamble there. Thought she was pretty good on the work tab coming in. And as I said, we both used the number 4 Surprising Appeal, who's going to be your top selection here. This one's adding blinkers, and I think probably with the addition of the blinkers coming over from Tampa might be some of the speed of this race.
Yeah, you have to take it on faith if you're looking at 0 out. By Bring the Heat out of Home Alona, speed is your weapon of choice. She's going to go early, and her best chance to win this race is to clear to the front. Frankly, I don't think she's going to have any problem doing that. It's just a matter of whether she can last going 5.5. I think Surprising Appeal will land behind her, and Surprising Appeal's debut run was a 5-length loss to Listen to Mama, who came back to get good after that at Tampa, beating winners a couple of starts later. That's the key race I'm focusing on. Turning back, adding the shades here this afternoon. This horse just has to stay close enough to the first timer, and I think we have a live long shot here.
Adding the shades.
Yeah.
I like that. And I rounded it out with the number 6, Queen G, who is still a maiden after 12 starts. Tried the turf again for the second time in a little while last time, and I don't think she likes to be on the turf. She's moving back over to the dirt, 2 back, and the beginning of April had a nice 6 furlong run on the dirt and was beaten only by 2 lengths there. So I don't know if she'll get that maiden victory. Again, she's still 0 for 12, but she might be in there in the action.
Absolutely correct. I think Queen G's a major contender, not for me on top, has had too many opportunities. But if you're a super player, ignore her at your own risk.
Sure. And you use the number 9.
Same story with the 9. Miss Niagara's an 0 for 12 maiden. If for some reason something were to happen weird with the pace where they went fast for some reason, she'll be closing late. It should be noted she's actually crossed the wire first and she was disqualified. It looks like it's taken the will to win out of her, though. She's been closing hard underneath, and that's why she's underneath for me as well.
All right, and that wraps up the card today. And a quick reminder, in the 9th race, there is also a scratch of the 5 Apella's Ball. I did not mention that before, but we will keep you updated on all of those changes, and Pete will give you all the information that you need to know, and we'll be back before the first race.
Absolutely. Makesh will be back to take you through the card. You get the changes in about 1 minute.
Good luck today.
What do I love about horse racing?